Sorry?
Okay.
Yeah.
We have room in the garage, okay?
Yeah, it's good, Guruma. Thank you so much. Everything is good. Perfect. Thank you.
Why you didn't come?
No, just me.
प्राप्तस्य कल्याण गुणार्णवस्य वन्दे गुरु श्रीचरणारविन्दम् महाप्रभु कीर्तनृत्यगीता वादित्रमाद्यान् मनसुरसेना रोमाञ्चकं प्राश्रुतङ्गभाजो वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् श्रीविग्रहाराधननित्यनाना शृङ्गारदान्मन्दिरमज्जनादो युक्तस्य भक्तान् स्नियुञ्जतोऽपि वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् चतुर्विधा श्रीभगवत्प्रसादो स्वादण्डतृप्तान् हरिभक्तसङ्घान् कृत्यैव तृप्तिं भजता सदैव वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् श्रीअधिकामाधवयोरपार माधुर्यलीला गुणरूपनाम्ना प्रतिक्षणाश्वादनलोलुपस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् निकुञ्जयोनो रतिकेलिसिद्धे यायालिभेर्योक्तिरपेक्षणीया तत्रातिलाच्यातिवल्लभस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् साक्षाद्धरित्वेन समस्तशास्त्रे उक्तस्तथा भाव्यतेव सद्भिः किन्तु प्रभुर्या प्रिय एव तस्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् यस्य प्रसादात् भगवत्प्रसादो यस्य प्रसादात् न गति कुतोऽपि ध्यायन्तु वान्तस्य यस्य त्रिसन्ध्यम् वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नमस्ते नरसिंहाय प्रह्लादलाददायिने हिरण्यकशिपोर्वक्षः शिरटङ्कानकाराय चितो नरसिंह परतो नरसिंहो यतो यतो यामि ततो नरसिंह हरे नरसिंह हृदये नरसिंह नरसिंहमदिं शरणं प्रपदे तव करकमलवरेणका अद्भुत सिंह दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्ग केशवधृता नररूप जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय नरसिंहदेव 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 जय नरसिंहदेव जय प्रह्लाद प्रह्लाद महाराज जय प्रह्लाद महाराज वृंदाय तुलसी दिव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य कृष्ण भक्ति प्रददेवी सत्यवते नमो नमः वृंदाय तुलसी दिव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य कृष्ण भक्ति प्रदे देवी सत्यवते नमो नमः वृंदाय तुलसी दिव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य कृष्ण भक्ति प्रदे देवी सत्यवते नमो नमः नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः राधा कृष्ण सेवा हे अभिलाषी तुम्हार शरण वंश पूर्ण कृपा करि करो तारे वृंदावन वासी मोरा विलास कुंज निवास नयने हरिवो सदा युगल रूप राशि निवेदन सखीरनुगत कर सेवाधिकार दिए करो निज दासी दीना कृष्ण दासी कहे हे नमो राहो श्री राधा गोविंदा प्रेमे सदाई नवासी ज्ञानी कानी चापा पानी ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिण पदे पदे जय वृंदे देवी वृंदे देवी वृंदे देवी जय तुलसी महारानी वृंदाय तुलसी देव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य च कृष्ण भक्ति प्रदे देवी सत्यवती नमो वृंदाय तुलसी देव्याय
रोजी दे दीजिए मेरे को।
वृंदाय तुलसी देव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य च कृष्ण भक्ति प्रदे देवी सत्यवती नमो
श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी कौन पढ़ाई करेगा? वो सीसी नहीं करो बड़ा वाला। पूजा का साथ में आप जब करें जब करिए लोग पढ़ लेंगे।
Okay, good, no problem. Thank you very much.
महादेवेंद्र पुलिस डिवोशन सर्विस और महाराज कौन सा चैप्टर 1 चैप्टर 1 माता लीला चैप्टर 1 हाँ जी
Chapter 1 The Later Pastime of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In this chapter, there is a summary description of all the pastime.
Text 1
1. Even a person with no knowledge can immediately acquire all knowledge simply by the benedictions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, I am praying to the Lord for His causeless mercy upon me. 2. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, who are like the sun and moon. They have arisen simultaneously on the horizon of God to simultaneously on the horizon of God to dissipate the darkness of ignorance and thus wonderfully bestow benediction upon all. Glory to all merciful Radha and Madan Mohan. I am lame and ill-advised, yet they are my directors and their lotus feet are everything to me. In a temple of jewel in Vrindavan, underneath a desire tree, Sri Radha Govind, served by their most confidential associates, sit upon an effulgent throne. I offer my humble obeisances unto them. May Gopinath ji, who attract all the gopis with the song of his flute, and who has begun the most melodious rasa dance on the bank of the Yamuna in Vansivat, be merciful upon us. All glories unto Sri Gaur Hari, who is an ocean of mercy. All glories unto you, the son of Sachi Devi, for you are the only friend of all fallen souls. All glories unto Lord Nityananda and Advaita Prabhu, and all glories unto all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya, headed by Sri Vas Thakur. I have previously described in synopsis the Adi Leela initial pastime, which have already been fully described by Vrindavan Das Thakur. I have therefore given only a synopsis of those incidents, and whatever specifies were to be related have already been given in that synopsis. To describe the unlimited pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not possible, but I now wish to relate the chief incidents and give a synopsis of those pastimes occurring at the end. I shall describe only in synopsis that portion which Vrindavan Das Thakur has described very elaborately in his book Chaitanya Mangala. Whatever incident are outstanding, however, I shall elaborate. Actually, the authorized compiler of the pastime of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Srila Das Vrindavan, the incarnation of Vyasadeva. Only upon his order am I trying to chew the remnants of food that he has left. Placing his lotus feet upon my head in great devotion, I shall now describe in summary the Lord's final pastimes. For 24 years, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained at home, and whatever pastime he performed during that time are called the Adi Leela. At the end of his 24th year, in the month of Magh, during the fortnight of the waxing moon, the Lord accepted the renounced order of Leela, Sannyas. After accepting sannyas, Lord Chaitanya remained within his material world for another 24 years. Within this period, whatever pastime he enacted are called the Sesa Leela, or pastime occurring at the end. The final pastime of the Lord occurring in his last 24 years are called Madhya, middle, and Antya, final. All the devotees of the Lord refer to his pastime according to these divisions. For 6 years of the last 24, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu travelled all over India from Jagannath Puri to Bengal and from Cape Comorin to Vrindavan. All the pastimes performed by the Lord in those places are known as the Madhya Leela, and whatever pastime were performed after that are called the Antya Leela. The pastime of the Lord are therefore divided into 3 periods: the Adi Leela, Madhya Leela, and Antya Leela. Now I shall very elaborately describe the Madhya Leela. For 18 continuous years, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained at Jagannath Puri and through his personal behavior instructed all living entities in the mode of devotional service. Of these 18 years at Jagannath Puri, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spent 6 years with his many devotees. By chanting and dancing, he introduced the loving service of the Lord. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sent Nityanand Prabhu from Jagannath Puri to Bengal, which was known as 𝐾𝐲𝐽, and Lord Nityanand Prabhu overflooded this country with the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Sri Nityanand Prabhu is by nature very much inspired in rendering transcendental loving service to Lord Kṛṣṇa. Now being ordered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he distributed this loving service anywhere and everywhere. I offer innumerable obeisances onto the lotus feet of Sri Nityanand Prabhu, who is so kind that he spread the serve of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to address Nityanand Prabhu as his elder brother, whereas Nityanand Prabhu addressed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as his Lord. Although Nityanand Prabhu is none other than Balram himself, he nonetheless always thinks of himself as the eternal servant of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nityanand Prabhu requested everyone to serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, chant his glory and utter his name. Nityanand Prabhu claimed that person to be his life and soul who rendered devotional service unto Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In this way, Srila Nityananda Prabhu introduced the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to everyone without discrimination. Even though the people were fallen soul and blasphemers, they were delivered by this process. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then sent the 2 brothers Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswami to Braj. By his order, they went to Sri Vrindavan Dham. After going to Vrindavan, the brothers preached devotional service and discovered many places of pilgrimage. They specifically initiated the service of Madan Mohan and Govindaji. Both Rup Goswami and Sanatan Goswami brought various scriptures to Vrindavan and collected the essence of these by compiling many scriptures on devotional service. In this way, they delivered all rascals and fallen souls. Srila Srinivas Acharya had sung Nana Shastra Vicharan ke Nipune Sad Dharma Sansthapato लोकानाथ हितकारिणो त्रिभुवने मन्या शरण्य करो राधा कृष्ण पादान विंद भजनंदे मत्तालिको वंदे रूप सनातनो रघुयुगो श्री जीव गोपाल. The six Goswami, under the direction of Sri Rup Goswami and Srila Sanatan Goswami, studied various Vedic literature and picked up the essence of them. The devotional service of the Lord. This means that all the Goswamis wrote many scriptures on devotional service with the support of Vedic literature. Devotional service is not a sentimental activity. The essence of Vedic knowledge is devotional service, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Vedescha sarvail aham eva vidyeva. All the Vedic literature aims at the understanding Kṛṣṇa, and how to understand Kṛṣṇa through devotional service has been explained by Srila Rup and Sanatan Goswami with evidence from all Vedic literature. They have put it so nicely that even a rascal or first-class fool can be delivered by devotional service under the guidance of the Goswamis. The Goswamis carried out the preaching work of devotional service on the basis of the analytical study of all confidential Vedic literatures. This was in compliance with the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Thus one can understand the most confidential devotional service of Vrindavan. This proof the bona fide devotional service is based on the conclusions of Vedic literature. It is not based on the type of sentiment exhibited by the Prakrit Sahajya. The Prakrit Sahajya do not consult the Vedic literature, and they are debauchees, women hunter and smokers of ganja. Sometimes they give a theatrical performance and cry for a Lord with tears in their eyes. Of course, all scriptures' conclusions are washed up by these tears. The Prakrit Sahajya do not realize that they are violating the orders of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who specifically said that to understand Vrindavan and pastime of Vrindavana, one must have sufficient knowledge of the Shastras, as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhakta Sruta Grahita. This means that devotional service is acquired from Vedic knowledge. Tat Chradhanam Muneha. Devotees who are actually serious attain bhakti, scientific devotional service, by hearing Vedic literature. It is not that one should create something out of sentimentally become a sahajya and advocate such concocted devotional service. However, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur considers such sahajya to be more favorable than the impersonalists who are hopelessly atheistic. The impersonalists have no idea of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The position of the sahajya is far better than that of the Mayavadi sannyasis. Although the sahajya do not think much of Vedic knowledge, they nonetheless have accepted the Lord Krishna as the Supreme Lord. Unfortunately, they misleaded others from authentic devotional service. Some of the books compiled by Srila Sanatan Goswami were Hari Bhakti Vilas, Bhagavad Mrita, Dasam Tippani and Dasam Charita. In the first wave of the book known as Bhakti Ratnakar, it is said that Sanatan Goswami understood Srimad Bhagavatam by through study and explained it in his commentary known as Vyasno Toshni. All the knowledge that Sri Sanatan Goswami and Rup Goswami directly acquired from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was broadcast all over the world by their expert service. Sanatan Goswami gave his Vaisnava Toshni commentary to Srila Jiva Goswami for editing, and Srila Jiva Goswami edited this under the name of Laghu Toshni. Whatever he immediately put down in writing was finished in the year 1476 Saka. Srila Jiva Goswami completed Laghu Toshni in the year Shakabd 1504. The subject matter of Hari Bhakti Vilas by Sri Sanatan Goswami was collected by Srila Gopal Goswami and is known as Vaishnava Smriti. This Vaishnava Smriti Granth was finished in 20 chapters known as Vilas. In the first Vilas, there is a description of how a relationship is established between the spiritual master and the disciple, and mantras are explained. In the second Vilas, the process of initiation is described. In the third Vilas, the method of Vaishnava's behavior are given with emphasis on cleanliness, constant remembrance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the chanting of the mantras given by the initiating spiritual master. In the fourth Vilas are description of sanskara, the reforming method, tilak, the application of 12 tilak on 12 places of the body, mudra mark on the body, mala chanting with beads, and Guru Puja, worship of the spiritual master. In the fifth Vilas, one is instructed on how to make a place to sit the meditation, and there are description of breathing exercise, meditation and worship of the Saligram Sila, representation of Lord Vishnu. In the sixth Vilas, the required practice for inviting the transcendental form of the Lord and bathing him are given. In the seventh Vilas, one is instructed on how to collect flower used for the worship of Lord Vishnu. In the eighth Vilas, there is a description of the deities and instruction on how to set up incense, light lamp, make offering, dance, play music, beat drums, garland and deities. Garland the deities. Offer prayers and obeisances and counteract offenses. In the ninth Vilas, there are description about collecting tulsi leaf, offering oblations to forefathers according to Vaishnava rituals, and offering food. In the 10th Vilas, there are description of the duties of the Lord. Vaishnavas are saintly person. In the 11th Vilas, there are elaborate description of deities, worship and the glories of the holy name of the Lord. One is instructed on how to chant the holy name of the deities, and there are discussion about offense as committed while chanting the holy name, along with method for getting relief from such offenses. There are also description of the glories of devotional service and the surrendering process. In the 12th Vilas, Ekadasi is described. In the 13th Vilas, fasting is discussed as well as observance of the Mahadwadasi ceremony. In the 14th Vilas, different duties for different month are outlined. In the 15th Vilas, there are instructions on how to observe Ekadasi fasting without even drinking water. There are also descriptions of branding the body with the symbol of Vishnu, and discussion of Chaturmas observation during the rainy season, and discussion of Janmashtami, Parsva Ekadasi, Sarvadwadashi, Ram Navami and Vijayadashmi. The 16th Vilas discuss duties to observe in the month of Kartik or the Damodar month or Urja. Even lamp are offered in the deity's room or above the temple. There are also description of the Govardhan Puja and Rath Yatra. The 17th Vilas discussion preparation for deities worship, Mahamantra chanting, the process of japa. In the 18th Vilas, the different form of Sri Vishnu are described. The 19th Vilas discuss the establishment of the deities and the rituals observed in bathing the deity before installation. The 20th Vilas discuss the construction of them temples, referring to those construction by the great devotees. The details of the Hari Bhakti Vilas Granth are given by Sri 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐬 Goswami in the Madhya Leela. The description given in those verses by Kṛṣna Das Kaviraj Goswami are actually a description of those portions compiled by Gopal Goswami. According to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the regulative principle of devotional service compiled by Gopal Goswami do not strictly follow our Vaishnava principles. Actually, Gopal Goswami collected only a summary of the elaborate description of Vaishnava regulatory principle from Hari Bhakti Vilas. It is Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami's opinion, however, that to follow the Hari Bhakti Vilas strictly is to actually follow the Vaishnava ritual in perfect order. He claimed that the Smrita Samaj, which is strictly follow the caste Brahman, has influenced portion that Gopal Bhatt Goswami collected from the original Hari Bhakti Vilas. It is therefore very difficult to find out Vaishnava's direction from the book of Gopal Bhatt Goswami. It is better to consult the commentary made by Sanatan Goswami himself for Hari Bhakti Vilas under the name of Digdarshini Tika. Some says that the same commentary was compiled by Gopinath Puja Adhikari, who was engaged in the service of Sri Radha Ramanji and who happened to be one of the disciple of Gopal Bhatt Goswami. Regarding Brihad Bhagavat-mrita, there are two parts dealing with the discharge of devotional service. The first part is an analytical study of devotional service, in which there is also a description of different planets, including the earth and heavenly planets, Brahmalok and Vaikunthalok. There are also descriptions of the devotees, including intimate devotees, most intimate devotees, and complete devotees. The second part describes the glory of the spiritual world, known as Goloka Mahatmya Nirupana, as well as the process of renunciation of the material world. It also describes real knowledge, devotional service, the spiritual world, love of Godhead, attainment of life's destination, and the bliss of the world. In this way, there are 7 chapters in each part, 14 chapters in all. Dasam Tippani is a commentary on the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Another name for the commentary is Brihad Vaishnava Toshni Tika. In the Bhakti Ratnakar, it is said the Dasam Tippani was finished in 1476 Sakabd. We have already given the name of 4 books compiled by Sanatan Goswami. Similarly, Srila Rup Goswami has also compiled many books which no one can even count. I shall therefore enumerate the chief book compiled by Srila Rup Goswami. He has described the pastime of Vrindavan in thousands of verses. The book compiled by Sri Rup Goswami include Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Vidagdha Madhav, Ujjwal Neelamani, and Lalita Madhav. Srila Rup Goswami also compiled Dan Keli Kaumudi, Astavali Leela Chandra, Padyavali, Govind Viryudavali, Mathura Mahatmya, and Natak Varnana. Who can count the rest of all books? Headed by Laghu Bhagavat-mrita, written by Srila Rup Goswami, he has described the pastime of Vrindavan in all of them. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati has given a description of these books. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is a great book of instruction on how to develop devotional service to Lord Kṛṣṇa and follow the transcendental process. It was finished in the year of 1463 Sagad. This book is divided into 4 parts: Purva Vibhag, Dakshin Vibhag, Paschim Vibhag, and Uttar Vibhag. In the Purva Vibhag, there is a description of the permanent development of devotional service, the general principle of devotional service, the execution of devotional service, ecstasy in devotional service, and ultimately the attainment of love of Godhead are described. In this way, there are 4 Laharis, babes, in this division of the ocean of the nectar of devotion. In the Dakshina Vibhaga, southern division, there is a general description of the mellow relationship called Bhakti Rasa, which is derived from devotional service. There are also description of the stage known as Vibhav, Anubhav, Satvik, Vyabhichari, and Asthai Bhav. All of this high platform of devotional service. Thus, there are 5 babes in the Dakshin Vibhag division. In the western division, there is a description of the chief transcendental humors derived from devotional service. These are known as Mukhya Bhakti Rasa Nirupan, or attention on the chief humors of feeling in the execution of devotional service. In that part, there is a description of devotional service is neutrality, further development in love and affection called servitude, further development in fraternity, further development in paternity or paternal love, and finally conjugal love between Krishna and his devotees. Thus, there are 5 babes in the Western division. In the Northern division, there is a description of the indirect mellows of devotional service, namely devotional service in laughter, devotional service in wonder, the devotional service in chivalry, pity, anger, dread, and ghastliness. There are also mixing of mellow and transgression of different humors. Thus, there are 9 waves in this part. This is but a brief outline of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Vidagdha Madhva is a drama of Lord Krishna pastime in Vrindavan. Srila Rupa Goswami finished this book in the year 1554 Sakabda. The first part of this drama is called Venu Nad Bilas. The second part Mahatma Lekha. The third part Radha Shang. The fourth part Venu Haran. The fifth part Radha Prasad Dan. The sixth part Sarad Bihar. And the seventh and last part Gauri Bihar. There is also a book called Ujjwal Neela Madi, a transcendental account of loving affair that include metaphor, analogy, and higher bhakti sentiments. Devotional service is conjugal love is described very briefly in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, but it is very elaborately discussed in Ujjwal Neela Madi. This book describes different type of lovers, their assistants, and those who are very dear to Krishna. There is also a description of Srimati Radharani and other female lovers, as well as various group leaders, messenger, and the constant associates, as well as other who are very dear to Krishna, are all described. The book also related how love of Krishna is awakened and described the ecstatic situation, the devotional situation, permanent ecstasy, disturbed ecstasy, steady ecstasy, different position of different dressed, feeling of separation, pure attractions, anger in attraction, varieties of loving affairs, separation from the beloved, meeting with the beloved, and both direct and indirect enjoyment between the lover and the beloved. All this has been very elaborately described.
Similarly, Lalita Madhav is a description of Krishna pastime in Dwarka. These pastimes were made into a dharma, and the work was finished in the year 1459. Sakabad. The first part deals with festivals. The first part deals with festivities in the evening. The second with the killing of the Sankachuda. The third was maddened Srimati Radharani. The fourth with Radharani proceeding towards Krishna. The fifth with the achievements of Chandravali. The sixth with the achievement of Lalita. And the seventh with the meetings in Nava Vrindavan. The eighth with the enjoyment of Nava Vrindavan. The ninth with looking over pictures. And the 10th with the complete satisfaction of the mind. Thus, the entire drama is divided into 10 parts. The Lagu Bhagavataram Amrit is divided into 2 parts. The first is called the Nectar of Krishna, and the second, the Nectar of Devotional Service. The importance of the Vedic evidence is stressed in the first part, and this is followed by a description of the original form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As Sri Krishna is a description of his pastimes and expansions in Swamas, personal forms, and Vivinastras. According to reference observations, the incarnations are called Avesh and the third Ektam. The first incarnation is divided into 3 Purusha avatars, namely Mahavishnu, Garta Vishnu, and Shrudaya Vishnu. Then there are 3 incarnations of the modes of nature, namely Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwar, Shiv. All the phenomena used in the service of the Lord is transcendental beyond the three qualities of this material world. There is also a description of 25 Leela avatars, namely Chatuhasta, the Kurmaras, Narad, Vara, Matsya, Yajna, Narayana, Rishi, Kapila, Daitreya, Hayagriv, Hamsa, Parishrava, Rashva, Krishna, Devpranay, Balarama, Vasudeva, Buddha, and Kalki. There are also 14 incarnations of Manu, Yajna, Vibhu, Satyasana, Hari, Vaikuntha, Ajita, Vamana, Sarva, Bhuma, Rashva, Vivasakena, Dharma, Shetu, Sudama, Yogeshwara, and Brahma Bhanu. There are also 4 incarnations for the 4 yugas, and their colors are described as white, red, blackish, and black, sometimes yellow, as in the case of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There are different types of millenniums or incarnations for those millenniums. The categories called Avesha, Prabhav, Vaibhav, and Parak constitute different situations for the different incarnations. According to specific pastimes, the names are spiritually empowered. There are also descriptions of the difference between the powerful and the power, and the inconceivable activities of the Supreme Lord. Sri Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, and no one is greater than him. He is the source of all incarnations. In the Laghu Bhagavatamrita, there are descriptions of his partial incarnations, descriptions of the impersonal Brahma effulgence, actually the body effulgence of Sri Krishna. The super excels of Sri Krishna pastimes are as an ordinary human Krishna, human beings, with 2 hands and so forth. There is nothing to compare with the 2 arms form of the Lord. In the spiritual world, Vaikuntha Jagat, there is no distinction between the owner of the body and the body itself. In the material world, the owner of the body is called the soul, and the body is called a material manifestation. In the Vaikuntha world, however, there is no such distinction. Lord Sri Krishna is unborn, and his appearance as an incarnation is perennial. Krishna's pastimes are divided into 2 parts, manifestation and manifestation. For example, when Krishna takes his birth within this material world, his pastimes are considered to be manifest. However, when he disappears, one should not think of that. He is finished, for his pastimes are going to on in an unfinished form. Varieties of humors, however, are enjoyed by the devotees and Lord Krishna during his manifestation pastimes. After all, his pastimes in Mathura, Vrindavan, and Dwarka are eternal and are going on perpetually somewhere in some part of the universe. Sri Rupa Goswami nephew, Srila Jiva Goswami, has compiled so many books on devotional service that there is no counting them. In Sri Bhagavata Sanardhava, Sri Jiva Goswami has written conclusively about the ultimate end of devotional service. Bhagavata Sandarbha is also known as Satta Sandarbha in the first part called Tattva Sandarbha. It is proved that Srimad Bhagavatam is the most authoritative evidence directly pointing to the absolute truth. The second Sandarbha is called Bhagavata Sandarbha, draws a distinction between impersonal Brahmana and localized Paramatma, and describes the spiritual world and the demonstrations of the modes of goodness devoid of contamination by the others 2 manifestation modes. In the other words, there is a wide description of the transcendental position known as Suddha Sattva. Material goodness is apt to be contaminated by the others 2 material qualities, ignorance and passion. But when one is situated in the Suddha Sattva position, there is no chance for such contaminations. In the spiritual platform of pure goodness, the potency of the Lord, Supreme Lord and the living entity is also described, and there is a descriptions of the unconceivable energies and varieties of the energies of the Lord. The potencies are divided into categories: internal, external, personal, marginal, and so forth. There are also discussions of the eternality of the deity worship, the omnipotency of the deity, his all pervasiveness, his grieving shelter to everyone, his subtle and gross potencies, his personal manifestations, his expressions of form, quality, and pastimes, his transcendental position, and his complete form. It is also stated that everything pertaining into the Absolute has the same potency and that spiritual world. The associations in the spiritual world and the therefore energies of the Lord in the spiritual world are all transcendentals. There are further discussions concerning the differences between the impersonal Brahma and the personality of Godhead. The fullness of the personalities of Godhead, the objective of all the Vedic knowledge, the personal potency of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead as the original author of the Vedic knowledge. The third Sandarbha is called Paramatma Sandarbha, and in this book there is a description of Paramatma, the super soul, and an inspection of how the super soul exists in millions and millions of the living entities. There is discussions of the differences between the qualitatives, incarnations, and discourses concerning the living entities. Maya, the material world, the theory of the transformations, the illusionary energy, the sameness of this world and the super soul, and the truth about this material world. In this connection, the opinions of the Siddhartha Swami are given. It is stated that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although devoid of material qualities, superintends all material activities. There is also a discussion of how the Lila Avatar incarnations respond to the desires of the devotees, and how the Supreme Personality of Godhead is characterized by the 6 opulences. The fourth Sandarbha is called the Kṛṣna Sandarbha, and in this book, Kṛṣna is his superintendence of the Purusha Avtaras and so forth. The opinions of Siddhartha Swami are corroborated in each and every scripture. The supremacy of Kṛṣna is stressed. Baldev, Sankarshan, and other expansion of Kṛṣna are emanations of Maha-Sankarshan. All the incarnations and expansion exist simultaneously in the body of Kṛṣna, who is described as two-handed. There is also a description of the Goloka planets, Vrindavana, the eternal place of Kṛṣna. The identity of the Goloka and Vrindavana, the Yadav as the cowherd boys, both eternal associates of the Kṛṣna. The adjustments and equality of the manifestation and unmanifestation pastimes. So Kṛṣna manifestation in Goloka, the queens of Dwarka as expansions of the eternal potency and superior to them, the super excellent gopis. There is also a latest list of the gopis' names and a discussion of the topmost position of the Srimati Radharani. The fifth Sandarbha is called Bhakti Sandarbha, and in this book there is a discussion of how devotional service can be directly executed and how such service can be adjusted either directly or indirectly. There is a discussion of the knowledge of all kinds of scripture, the establishment of the Vedic institutes of Varnashrama, Bhakti as superior to Puritic activities, and so forth. It is also stated that without this devotional service, even a Brahmana is contaminated. There are discussion of the process of karma yoga, the giving of the results of karma to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the practices of mystic yoga and philosophical speculations, which are described as simply hard labor. Worship of the demigods is discouraged, and worship of Vaishnava is considered exalted. No respect is given to the non-devotees. There are discussions of how one can be liberated even in this life. Jivan Mukta, Lord Shiva as the devotee, and how a Bhakta and his devotional service are eternally existing. It is stated that through Bhakti one can attain all success. For Bhakti is transcendental to the material qualities. There is a discussion of how the self is manifestation through Bhakti. There is also discussion of self-bliss as well as how Bhakti, even imperfectly executed, enables one to attain the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. unmotivated devotional service is highly praised, and an explanation is given of how each devotees can achieve the platform of unmotivated service by association with other devotees. There is a discussion of the difference between the Mahabhagavata and the ordinary devotee, the symptoms of the philosophical speculations, the symptoms of the self-worship or anargara Kṛṣṇa, the symptoms of the devotional service, the symptoms of the imaginary perfection, the acceptance of the regulative principles, service to the spiritual master, the Mahabhagavat, liberated devotees, and service to him, service to Vaishnavas in general, the principles of the hearing, chanting, remembering, and serving the lotus feet of the Lord, offenses in worship, offensive effects, prayers, engaging oneself as an eternal servant of the Lord, making friendships with the Lord and surrendering everything for his pleasure. This is also a discussion of Raghunath Bhakti, Raganuga Bhakti, spontaneous love of Godhead, of the specific purpose of becoming a devotee of Lord Kṛṣṇa, and a comparative study of the others' perfection stages. The sixth Sandarbha is called the Priti Sandarbha, a thesis on love of Godhead. Here it is stated that through love of Godhead, one becomes perfectly liberated and attains the highest goal of life. A distinction is made between the liberated conditions of an personality and that of an impersonality. And there is a discussion of liberation during one's lifetime as discussed from liberation from material bondages, of all kinds of liberations. Liberation is loving service to the Lord, is described as the most exalted, and meeting the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face is shown to be the highest perfection of the life. Immediate liberation is contrasted with liberation by a gradual process. Both realization of Brahma and meeting with the Supreme Personality of Godhead are described as liberation within one lifetime, but meeting with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, both eternally and externally, is shown to be super excellent above the transcendental realization of the Brahman incarnate. There is a comparative study of liberation as Slokaya, Sampaya, and Surupya. Sampya is better than Slokaya. Devotional service is considered to be liberations with greater facilities, and there is a discussion of how to obtain it. There is also discussion of the transcendental state one achieves after attaining the devotional platform, which is the exalted position, which is the exact position of a love of Godhead, the marginal symptoms of transcendental love, and how it is awakened. The difference between so-called love and transcendental love on the platform of the love of Godhead. The difference between the different types of humors and mellows enjoyed in relishing the lusty affairs of the gopis, which are different from mundane affairs, which is in terms of symbolic representation of pure love for Krishna. There is also discussion of bhakti mixed with philosophical speculations and super excellence of the love of the gopis. The difference between opulent devotional service and loving devotional service, the exalted position of the residents of Gokula, the progressively exalted position of the friends of the Krishna, the Gopas and the Gopis in parental love with Krishna, and finally the super excellence of the love of the Gopis and that of Srimati Radharani. There is also a discussion of how spiritual feelings can be present when one simply imitates them, and how such mellows are far superior to the ordinary mellows of mundane love. And there are descriptions of different ecstasies and the awakening of the ecstasy, transcendental qualities, the description of Duryodhata, the utmost achievement, the utmost attractiveness of conjugal love, the ecstatic features, the permanent aesthetic features, the mellows divided into 5 transcendental features of direct love service and indirect love service, considered in 7 divisions. Finally, there is a discussion of overlapping of different rasas, and there are discussions of sanata, neutrality, servitorship, taking, shelter, parent love, conjugal love, direct transcendental enjoyment, and enjoyment in separation, previous attraction, and the glories of the Srimati Radharani. The most famous and formidable transcendental literature is the book named Gopala Champu. In this book, the eternal pastimes of the Lord are established, and the transcendental melodies enjoyed in Vrindavana are completely described.
बोले रचना करने
In this Anubhaya Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives the following information about Gopala Champu. Gopala Champu is divided in two parts. The first part is called the Eastern Way, and the second part is called the Northern Way. In the first part, there was 33 supplications, and in the second part, there is 37 supplications. In the first part, completed in 1510, the following subjects matters are discussed: Vrindavana and Golaka, the killing of the Putna demons, the gopis returning home under the instructions of the Mother Yashoda, the bathing of Lord Krishna and Balaram, Snigdha Kantha and Madhu Kantha, the dreams of Mother Yashoda, the Janmashtami ceremony, the meeting between Nanda Maharaj and Vasudev, and the killing of the Putna demon, the pastimes of awaking from bed, the deliverance of the demon Sakta, and the name-giving ceremony, the killing of the Karnavata demon, Lord Krishna eating dirt, Tinava demons, Lord Krishna eating dirt ceremony, the killing of Lord Krishna, childless naughtiness, and Lord Krishna as a thief, coming of the yogurt, Krishna drinking from the breast of Mother Yashoda, the breaking of the yogurt pot, Krishna bound with ropes, the deliverance of the two brothers, Yamala and the lamentations of Mother Yashoda, entering Sri Vrindavan, the killing of the Bakasur and Vyamasur, the killing of Agashura, and the bewilderment of the Lord Balaram, the tending of the cows in the forest, taking care of the cows, and chastising the Kaliya serpent, the killing of the Gadadhasura, and the praise of Krishna, the previous attraction of the gopis, the killing of the Palambasura and the eating of the forest fire, the